I'm not the Steven Peterson guy, whoever tried to impersonate me the other day.
Welcome to YouTube Live, guys. Today I have a very special guest with me, CIO from Fantom, and his name is Michael Kong. Hey, Michael. So we are live here, and we have got a bunch of people, joining us live. Say hi to everyone.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Wherever you are.
Great. So, Michael, I will keep it very short but very sweet, this interview. So could you brief me about your personal background, how you got into Fantom?
Yeah, so my personal background is that I'm been born and raised in Sydney, Australia. I'm Australian, and at university I actually did a degree in IT and finance. On the IT side, interestingly enough, I got the opportunity to work with professor there, Bernard Scholl, who's in the programming languages group, and he wanted to analyze bugs in Ethereum-based smart contracts. So I actually spent a couple of years there with a few other people, building software like decompilers and different analysis and what we call first-order logic principles to analyze control flow graphs of these smart contracts and analyze finding bugs in these smart contracts at the virtual machine level. And beforehand, for a few years, probably since 2013, I went on and off with crypto, bought and sold Bitcoin, and then a friend introduced me. He's now working at Coinbase. He lived in Sydney. He introduced me to Ethereum in late 2015, and I got really interested there because I thought Bitcoin was just a payment mechanism. I didn't really want to work in payments, but he said, hey, smart contracts, more generalized programming is Turing complete. And I looked into it and I got hooked into it. And so after that, I was able to join this project at the University of Sydney. So I have a bit of experience in analyzing vulnerabilities in smart contracts, and in particular, analyzing how middleware works in the distributed ledger level. I have a bit of knowledge in how distributed computing also works as well, because I did an IoT degree, but I have quite a bit more knowledge in the middleware.
Yeah, very impressive. You've got good experience under your belt, so nice to know that. Yeah. So I'll be very straight. So what is Fantom and how it is different from other blockchains? Because there are so many blockchain and so many projects, who are into smart contracts. So why somebody choose Fantom over its competitors? And what is Fantom? What is overall the technical architecture of Fantom?
Yeah. So just to quickly answer your prior question about how do we start with Fantom. I started a company here called Digital Currency Holdings with a few guys who were very experienced in finance and very well known, worked for big banks, and also with a friend of mine called Jake Choi, and he's Korean, and he introduced us to an individual called Dr. An, who runs the Korean Food Tech Association. And they needed blockchain expertise and knowledge on how to run the ICO and do all the legal work and all that. So that's how we got involved. How is Fantom different? Well, we can talk technically at the different layers, and there's three layers: the application layer, there's the middleware layer, there's the distributed ledger layer. The fundamental difference in the distributed ledger layer is that it's based on cost of principles, which means that in the worst case, big O of log n, you scale at a factor of log n, right? Where n is your number of nodes. We've found with a variety of techniques using ideas such as graph dominance and being able to get ordering of events using input timestamps, following asynchronous business fault tolerant principles, that in the average case you should do better than that log n. So in the worst case, you will still perform as good as gossip about gossip, which has already been implemented in other systems like Hashgraph. But in the average case, you should do quite a bit better than that. So I think that's the key difference of the distributed ledger layer. In the middleware layer, we're working with Yonsei University and University of Sydney, a group of professors, postdoctoral researchers, and PhD students and undergrad students to build basically a virtual machine which is verifiable and also a compiler. What that verifiability means is that you can put in a program and it will prove the correctness of the program at the virtual machine level or the compiler level. Now, this is very different from the way, say, if you're in virtual machine works, which doesn't do any of these checks. There are systems on top, and we build a system as well that does checking, externally as like how these instructions execute, but it's not inbuilt into, the virtual machine itself. And then these are largely approximations. Whereas what we're doing with the virtual machine, the compiler, will not really be approximations. It'll be much more mathematically rigorous. So, that's the key difference in the middleware level. On the application layer level,
you have introduced something called the Cassis protocol. So how it works? I'm not a too technical person, and I'm sure most of the people watching my channel, they're not too technical. So if you just have to explain in simple and plain English, how you explain it?
Okay, so there's this principle in distributed computing called visiting fault tolerance, right? Basically means that if you have a set of n nodes, say like 8 nodes, any number of nodes shouldn't be able to crash the system. So for example, if I have 8 nodes and one node goes offline, the system should still operate. Or if 2 nodes go offline, the system should still operate. It should still operate as all the nodes go down. So with systems like Bitcoin and Ethereum, you have basically synchronous business need fault tolerance. In other words, you always have to the system works by synchronizing per block. So when a transaction comes in, it has to go into a pool, and then it has to be mined to the block, and then all the other nodes have to follow that exact ordering.
Oh yeah.
What we've done is we follow a system called asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance. Asynchronous meaning that you don't have to wait on other nodes to confirm their events first before you can confirm yours. Basically, as soon as you get an event into the system, you can start confirming it as soon as possible. There are problems with the system, though. It's challenging because one problem is getting the correct ordering of events, right? So if you don't have the correct order of events, you can get all sorts of double spending problems. The system isn't secure. So, one way we deal with this is by the idea of Lamport timestamps, which is from an individual, I think he works at Microsoft Research now, called there's the Lamport. Basically, he found a way to get an ordering of events asynchronously, where you can communicate each of the different parts and then eventually get a final ordering of events. So following this asynchronous approach, why is this better than a synchronous approach? Because asynchronous programming is faster than synchronous programming, because it means that you can confirm several events at the same time, whereas with synchronous programming, you can only confirm one event sequentially at a time. So that's what makes the system, that's the crux of what makes the system a lot faster than a synchronous system. However, it is more challenging getting this ordering of events. It's more challenging coming to consensus. And also, you need to be able to secure the network by getting a super majority of the nodes of the network, which is 2n over 3, or a majority of the voting power. So, it still scales depending on how many nodes that you have. So if you have too many nodes, it's still going to slow down. But it should slow down slower than, Bitcoin or Ethereum. So it should still perform faster than them, given the same number of nodes. Yeah.
Yeah, great to know that. So Michael, you guys are claiming to do 300,000 TPS. So how confident you are to achieve that number when you launch, when you have your mainnet?
That's probably very unlikely. Right now we got about 70,000 TPS.
Still very
on 700 MS, but that's on the I got a caveat here that's on a single machine, right? So once you do it on different machines and all, it will be a bit slower, but it shouldn't be substantially slower than that. The problem though is that that only works up to 65 nodes. Past 65 nodes, for some reason, consensus will eventually become inconsistent. So that's what we're working on fixing right now. And I detail these in AMAs and all that. And some people just talk at the parts they like, which is, oh, you already reached 70K TPS. Well, it's with a bunch of other caveats. I don't think it's going to reach 300K, but I think we can get at least in the several tens of thousands.
Well, that's
up to like 100 or 200 node network, or maybe even a 300 node network.
Yeah, so that's still very impressive. If you reach, let's say, several 10,000, let's say 20, 30,000, still very impressive if you compare with other blockchains, So yeah, so we are very curious to know and very excited to see when the mainnet launches and how it performs. So Michael, you have got very impressive team. So I see there are 4 PhDs in your team. So how you balance your team? I mean, everyone has their responsibility fixed. So how you balance it?
Yeah, so on the distributed ledger level, we've got 2 primary teams. One is called SFX DX. They are largely a Russian-based team. We got 5 developers there. So they focus. So they're software engineers who have worked on different projects before, have experience in distributed computing. They're me doing a lot of the Golang work for us. We've also got another team called Offscale IO based in Sydney, and they actually work in the digital currency holdings office with us. 2 of the developers. One of the developers is, in the US. They mostly work on the Rust implementation, but also do a lot of DevOps for the Golang code base as well. And then we've got a researcher called Quan Nguyen, who's a postdoctoral researcher from University of Sydney. And also on Andre's side, we've got 2 individuals, one called Peter Badenhorst, who does some part-time Golang development for us, and also Anton Nell, who used to be the CTO of CryptoCurve, I believe. So, they've all got their areas of expertise. They're all working together on 3 implementations. So there's a Golang implementation, the Rust implementation, the Java implementation. Java implementation is more experimental, but the Rust and the Golang implementations are much more developed. So that's on the distributed ledger side. On the middleware side, it's really 2 teams, one at the University of Sydney, one at Yonsei University, and they specialize in middleware development. So some of them are really knowledgeable in interpreters, others are really knowledgeable in compilers, and others are really knowledgeable in register-based virtual machine development. So they've got different categories of what they specialize in, and they work together to build the entire programming toolchain. So that's sort of the research and development team that we've got going at the moment, and they're the ones who are doing a significant amount of work.
Yeah, that's good. I think you have got quite a large team. So yeah, that's brilliant. So that brings my next question about Andre. So there's so much talk about Andre, whether he is full-time or with Fantom. So what kind of relationship Andre has with Fantom?
So Andre is full-time on Fantom. Negotiating a new contract with him going forward. I think he will still be full-time going forward. More details to be announced soon. We've actually had a consulting contract with him since October, and we've been paying him compensating for his work and travel expenses and so on and so forth. So he's pretty much been full-time for quite a while now. I mean, he goes out there and he represents Fantom. He's going to be in New York City and he's going to be representing Fantom. He was in Dubai and he was representing Fantom. He's conducted several interviews. Most recently CryptoLark and the whole Hey Matty interview, and he's representing Fantom. So he is, he's still doing crypto briefing work and maybe work with a few other projects, which is not a problem for us at all. But he is focusing a lot on Fantom. He's more representing Fantom and playing a more managerial a role rather than a hardcore development role. The hardcore development is really done by the teams that I just mentioned there, and I think that's good. Because one person can't do everything, so Absolutely. He's playing sort of a different role now than he was previously.
Yeah, nice to know that, because I think a lot of people have got their doubt clear, because we're just wondering what is going to happen in terms of whether he is still with Fantom or the contract will be renewed or not. So we'll wait for the announcement on that, Michael. So I'll talk about some of your use cases. So Fantom got some big goals to disrupt space like IoT and smart cities. So could you talk about some of the use cases?
So just quickly going back onto Andre, I think some people in the community get the impression that, it's kind of do or die for Fantom with Andre. In other words, if Andre were to depart, which he is not, by the way, but if you were to depart, right, that this will be the end of Fantom, that Fantom is basically, Andre. That's not true at all. I mean, I've just outlined, a whole bunch of different teams. Most of the team members were introduced by me. Some of them were introduced by him, such as Antonell and Peter Badenhorst. But these are independent individuals doing the work, and they will continue to do the work whether Andre was there or not. So I just think I need to make that very, very clear. On the IoT side, on the application layer side of stuff, our key aim at the moment is get the middleware out. Sorry, is to get the mainnet out. Once we get the mainnet out, which initially has EVM compatibility on both the Rust and the Golang code bases, we're going to build a variety of different tools. We already have a basic Web3 JavaScript implementation that communicates with the distributed ledger. We would expand that out, expand the APIs, expand the documentation out, and then people who want to run IoT devices, if we can get it fast enough and cheap enough, theoretically they'll be able to do that by setting up a smart contract written in Solidity and deployed on the network. So in terms of like actual partnerships, look, we're talking to a whole bunch of different organizations in Dubai with details to be released very shortly. We're speaking to people in Korea, we're speaking to some people in Australia as well. And also Andre is setting up conversations in South Africa as well. And, I know a lot of people like to focus on IoT and blockchain, but it's more than just that. There's a whole bunch of different proposals and partnerships regarding payments, regarding some regarding IoT, and others regarding a whole bunch of different aspects utilizing the chain. So IoT is just going to be a small component of it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when is the mainnet launch? So when we can see the mainnet?
Well, if we get really lucky, in the best case, we'll have it in Q2. So in a couple of months or so. But I think more realistically at the moment, it's probably going to look at something Q3. A good case or best case will be Q2, but I think Q3 is probably more accurate at this point. I mean, the key problem we got to solve is that past a certain number of nodes, consensus seems to break down eventually. So we need to solve that problem. Once we've solved that problem, we've got a bit more work to do on implementation of the proof of stake, which isn't too much work, because we've already got that architecturally designed. And then once that occurs, then we're ready to launch a mainnet. And we'll have it tested out before the launch of the mainnet for sure as well.
Yeah, so if we are lucky, we might see in Q2, or maybe if not, then Q3 is sure, right? So in Q3, definitely we'll have the mainnet.
Well, I can't say definitely 100% for sure, but I'm very confident at least by Q3. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some of the partnerships. So I can see some big partnerships on your website, like Oracle. So what kind of partnership you have with Oracle?
With the Oracle partnership, it was not much is really happening there at the moment, as far as I know. We were able to do some presentation at Oracle HQ, which was a few months ago. More recently, they've given us discount access to some of their relational databases, which we've used on and off. But apart from that, we haven't really been doing too much, with Oracle. I mean, where most of the partnerships are happening that are probably going to start fairly soon are located mainly in Dubai, and other partners like in Korea and in Dubai and South Africa are kind of waiting for a mainnet launch. So once we get a mainnet launch out there, they're going to be a lot more confident about the technology, and then we're going to assist them in developing the applications on top of it. That's sort of the roadmap at the moment.
So yeah, so people are waiting for the mainnet launch. So
yeah,
I see.
That's right.
Yeah, there are other partners as well, like POS Bank, and we have Danfu. So there are so many big partners onboarded. So yeah, they might be waiting for the mainnet launch, and then they will, you'll start to roll out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, once we get the mainnet out there, we can start rolling out applications first on like say a private testnet, and then as production-ready applications on the mainnet. That is the plan at the moment. So a lot of things hinge on a successful mainnet release, which is what we're spending a lot of time working on.
Yeah, I see. So I've heard about Fantom Pay. So what is Fantom Pay? Could you please explain a bit? And how you integrate that? Yeah.
Yeah. So Fantom Pay is a mobile payments application that's going to be running on the Fantom network. And what's the benefit for this? Well, particularly if you're doing crypto to crypto transfers, it'll be much lower, than the cost of using traditional credit card providers. Will be cheaper for the merchants. It'll be cheaper for the users, and you also get the benefits of doing your transactions in a peer-to-peer manner rather than through a centralized third party. What does that mean? You get the benefits of decentralization. So you can be your own bank. It's censorship resistant. So there's been controversies around credit card providers shutting off access to all sorts of organizations that they don't really like. The peer-to-peer network would be censorship resistant, or although it'll be up to the nodes to confirm what transactions they want to do in the end. So it'll be a lot more decentralized. This is particularly useful for people who live in countries that don't have very stable financial systems, where you can't really rely on the banking system. They have a lot of crises, they have currency crises. So that's sort of an application we want to roll out. We've already built a decent amount of technology. We haven't really been focusing on it lately because we want the mainnet to be launched first, and then we'll finish off building that application, and then we'll run that application on top of the mainnet, and we'll partner up with a few providers who want to partner up with us. So that's sort of the plan with Fantom Pay at the moment.
So you guys also planning to integrate the Fantom token to Fantom Pay application?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be a token you can use on the application as well, and of course, the Fantom token, will be used for securing the Fantom mainnet, via proof of stake.
So let's talk about the token utility. Since this is a utility token, so there has to be enough utility for the tokens, right? So when I think of utility, you have a proof of stake where we can stake the tokens to validate the network and to keep the network secure. So what are some other use cases of tokens?
Well, that is the primary use case, as you mentioned before. You need a token to secure the network, and if you don't have the token to secure the network, then you're gonna be very vulnerable, easily vulnerable to all sorts of Sybil attacks, or flooding attacks. Other use cases are, with Fantom Pay, as you mentioned before, and people will be able to integrate their tokens to all sorts of different applications. Just kind of like how it works for Ethereum at the moment. But the primary use case will be in securing the network and also being able to participate in on-chain governance. Now, on-chain governance, interesting enough, we're working through a document that outlines how governance will work on the platform, that we're going to be releasing fairly shortly, probably sometime in May. And that was the detail what you can use the token for, which will largely be voting, being able to participate as moderators for the chain. So there'll be use cases for the on-chain governance, as well as for proof of stake, as well as for what people want to use the token for in the applications.
Yeah, so primarily proof of stake and payments, different applications and through different partners. And we have on-chain governance, all the votings and all this stuff, So yeah, good utility, I guess. So yeah, I'm very particular about the utility. If we are buying utility token, there has to be enough utility, right? All right. So what about the team tokens? What is the vesting period of the team tokens?
Oh, I think this was answered like many times in the chat. It's over a period of 24 months since the launch of the ICO. I mean, it's been already in there for a while. Yeah.
All right. So when I look at your total supply, it's roughly 1.9 billion. And when I look at, there is something called max supply, that is 3.1 billion. So why there is a difference of 1.1 billion? Could you please address that? Because
those tokens haven't been minted yet. That's why. So, there's no reason to, we thought about it. Do we want to mint all the tokens to max supply? But the vast majority, or the majority of those remaining tokens that are yet to be minted are going to be, block reward tokens anyway. So, there's no real point in minting them, since, they're not going to be minted, they're not going to be used anyway until the mainnet launch anyway. So
that is basically
so that's the difference. Yeah, they're just not minted.
Yeah, you're keeping that for the block reward, that extra 1 billion. Is that correct?
Yeah, approximately it's that amount. Yeah.
All right.
And there are other tokens that haven't been mentioned yet.
Yeah, so since Fantom is a Korean project, so we'd love to see Fantom trading on some big Korean exchanges. So are you guys in touch with some of the exchanges? I'm not asking you to name the exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to exchanges. Yeah. Sorry, you're not going to get any more details from me out of that. I was in big trouble, you know?
Yeah, I see. I completely respect that. Yes. So, all right. I think I am done with my questions. So anything you want to say to our Indian viewers? So my channel is basically from India, and this is an English channel basically. So yeah, so a lot of people here in India, my community members, have been investing in Fantom, and they're a big believer in this project. So would you like to say something to them?
Yeah, I'd say, like, thank you for, your support, and, and believing in what we're trying to do at the moment, which is highly speculative, but I think we're going in a very positive direction, and we've got some serious technology we want to launch out there. And yeah, thank you guys very much for your support. And I didn't realize there was such a significant community in India.
We've been growing, and we have made a Telegram group for the Fantom India. So you are very welcome to join. So we have got about 20 people. So we have recently created that Telegram. So yeah, we've been following, and we've been tracking all the developments that is happening at Fantom, and we're very excited for the mainnet, and we are very hopeful that we will see that mainnet very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're putting 100% effort into. Yeah, that is the #1 priority for us. I mean, there are other things we're also working on, but the mainnet is the #1 priority.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Michael, for your time. I really appreciate you took out some time from your busy schedule.
Oh,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great day.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.